Sarah breathed deeply. The air was crisp and cool. The scent of pine filled her nostrils. Lake Merrow shimmered under the late afternoon sun. Its surface was like a mirror, reflecting the sky. This was exactly what she needed, a break from the city, a chance to reconnect with nature. The cabin was rustic but cozy. A stone fireplace promised warmth on chilly evenings. Bookshelves lined one wall filled with well-worn paperbacks. Sarah unpacked her bags, placing her few belongings on the old dresser. She smiled. Peace settled over her like a warm blanket. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. Sarah built a fire in the fireplace. The flames crackled, casting dancing shadows on the log walls. She made herself a cup of tea and settled into a comfy armchair. A sense of contentment washed over her. This was going to be perfect. The first night passed without incident. Sarah woke to the sound of birdsong. The lake was calm, reflecting the clear blue sky. Her initial anxieties about being alone faded. She spent the day exploring the woods, enjoying the solitude. As dusk approached, a light mist began to rise from the lake. It swirled and danced, obscuring the far shore. The temperature dropped, sending a chill down Sarah's spine. A strange feeling settled in her stomach, a feeling that she was being watched. She tried to shake off the feeling, returning to the cabin. Inside, she built a fire. The flames crackled, but the room felt colder. A low growl echoed from outside. Sarah froze, her heart pounding. Was it a wolf? She strained to hear, but there was only silence. The next day, Sarah tried to focus on her book. The sun was shining, but a sense of unease lingered. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every creak of the cabin, every rustle of leaves outside sent shivers down her spine. As evening approached, she stood by the window. The lake was calm again, but then she saw it. A dark shape beneath the surface. It moved slowly, like a shadow gliding through the water. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Her pulse quickened. It was too large to be a fish, too dark, too deliberate in its movements. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced her. What was it? Night fell. The shadow in the lake grew larger, more defined. Sarah retreated inside, locking the door. She tried to convince herself it was just a trick of the light. Just her imagination, but deep down, she knew better. A low growl echoed again, closer this time. Sarah's heart hammered in her chest. She grabbed a heavy bookend from the shelf, clutching it for protection. Her hand trembled. She was trapped, alone with whatever lurked outside. The shadow emerged from the lake. It was tall, impossibly thin. Its edges were blurred, indistinct. It moved towards the cabin, leaving a trail of dripping water in its wake. Sarah gasped, pressing herself against the wall. This was no figment of her imagination. This was real. Panic surged through Sarah. She fumbled for her phone, but there was no signal. She was completely cut off, alone. The shadow pressed against the window. Its form shifted, becoming more solid, more defined. A face, pale and gaunt, appeared within the darkness. Its eyes, two burning embers, stared directly at her. The growl turned into a guttural rasp. Sarah could hear words forming, though she couldn't quite make them out. The sound sent chills down her spine. It was a voice devoid of humanity, a voice that spoke of ancient, primal things. The cabin shook. Something heavy slammed against the front door. Sarah screamed, dropping the bookend. She stumbled back, her eyes fixed on the door. Each blow was like a hammer to her chest. It was trying to get in. The voice grew louder. Sarah could hear the words now. "Let me in," it hissed. "Let me in." The voice seemed to seep into her bones, chilling her to the core. She pressed herself against the wall, her mind racing. There was another crash. The door splintered. The shadowy figure squeezed through the opening, its form rippling like smoke. Its eyes, two burning coals, fixed on Sarah. She was paralyzed with terror, unable to move, unable to scream. "You cannot hide," the voice rasped. It slithered towards her, its form shifting, changing. Sarah closed her eyes, bracing herself. This was it. This was the end. But then, silence. Sarah opened her eyes, slowly. The figure was gone. The cabin was still, the only sound the crackling of the dying fire. She cautiously approached the door. It hung precariously from its hinges. Outside, the lake was calm, the water reflecting the moonlight. Had it been a dream, a hallucination brought on by fear and isolation? Relief washed over her, followed by a wave of exhaustion. She just wanted to sleep. As she turned back towards the bedroom, she noticed something. A shadow moved in the corner of her eye, a dark shape, indistinct, flickering in the firelight. It was inside the cabin. The shape solidified. The pale, gaunt face materialized, its burning eyes locked on Sarah. A cold dread gripped her. It hadn't been a dream, it was real. And it was here, inside the cabin with her. The voice, a low, guttural rasp, echoed in the silence. "You are mine now," it whispered. The words dripped with malice, with an ancient hunger. Sarah stumbled back, her scream dying in her throat. The shadow lunged.